I just wanted to provide you guys with some support for handwriting intervention. So here's my presentation, Nurturing Fine Motor Skills and Writing Proficiency. Here's some key reasons why handwriting holds significance. Cognitive development. It's important for brain engagement. The act of handwriting actually engages different parts of the brain. Contributes to motor skills, memory, creativity. Fine motor skills. It helps develop and refine fine motor skills, even those skills that we need for ADLs, which we know we have goals on for insurance. Academic achievement. Studies suggest that physical active handwriting actually helps with learning and retention of information. And when it comes to note taking, I tell my students, take handwritten notes. Writing it commits it to memory. It helps create those loops of memory. Personal expression. Everybody's handwriting is unique, and being able to write a handwritten thank you, a note, a list, conveys that personal touch that we don't want to lose with text messaging and email. Also, your signature, it's an expression of creativity. Motor memory and skill development. Muscle memory. The repetitive nature of handwriting contributes to the development of muscle memory and making writing more automatic over time. Historical and cultural significance. We've been writing since, I don't know, I would say the dawn of man, but not really. Let's say the Roman and Greek ages. It's part of our culture, part of our historical heritage. It's a skill, a tool that shouldn't be lost. And when it comes to personal development, handwriting allows self-expression. It allows a way for someone to express their thoughts and emotions in a unique way. And let's talk now about practical applications. Why handwriting in an outpatient center? Well, handwriting is still a very important life skill. We need to be able to take notes, telephone messages, write grocery lists. These are all things, fill in forms, sign legal documents. I can go through a lot of ways that we can tie handwriting into the outpatient setting. So what are some of the common handwriting difficulties that you're going to see out in the outpatient clinic? Dysgraphia, poor letter formation. Sorry, we'll go back to that. Grip issues. So dysgraphia, we don't diagnose it, but we certainly can have a piece to that. It is a neurological condition, affects writing abilities. Not related to intelligence, please. People can be very intelligent and not be able to write fluidly or clearly. The characteristics are illegible handwriting, problems with letter and spacing, a lot of trouble organizing their thoughts in writing. People with dysgraphia, children, and very intelligent children will give 2-3 word answers because it's so challenging for them to write a sentence or a paragraph. So their writing is not at the same level as their academic achievement, and it can really hold them back. Poor spelling, pain and discomfort with writing. Again, we don't diagnose dysgraphia, but we do a lot of testing that can help with the diagnosis, such as visual perceptual testing, fine motor testing, you name it. So poor letter formation. Poor letter formation is difficulties in shaping and arranging letters correctly when writing. This obviously can result in illegible handwriting, making it really hard to read what others have produced. Some of the hallmarks are inconsistent sizing, misshapen letters, difficulty leaving space between letters and or words, and just the lack of precision in forming strokes. Every letter has a motor plan. When you have motor planning issues, it's hard to then correctly write a letter because you don't approach it the same way every time. And then we've got grip issues. Grip is how we hold the writing implement or tool. Some of the characteristics of grip issues are uncomfortable grip, inefficient grasp patterns, tension or fatigue while writing, not maintaining a consistent grip, so someone that changes their grip all the time, inappropriate pressure on the writing tool, that can lead to inconsistent lettering. All right, we don't do quote unquote, and I'm doing air quotes here, handwriting assessment at Sensation Station. Handwriting assessment is typically something that you will see in the school system. However, we are getting referrals with children that have handwriting issues, and perhaps they aren't getting services at school. So, as I mentioned before, it is a practical life skill as well. our target of intervention or our goal may be not quite as high as a school when they want 100% legibility. In our clinic, we're looking for, can their parent read it? Can they read their own work? Is it functional? That's kind of where we go at our clinic. But we can certainly contribute to a handwriting assessment, and we don't do it on an initial eval, but we can do this over time across sessions. And the things that we do informally are observing letter formation and spacing, looking at their ability to recognize letters. I mean, let's face it, if they can't recognize an A from an E, we shouldn't be working on forming them, should we? So we got to start with letter recognition. Writing speed. I will make a note about writing speed. The literature supports that if you increase speed, you decrease legibility. So I hate to use this word, but legibility trumps writing speed. All right? We want to have kids slow down and write not neatly. I hate to use the word neat, but I like to use the word legible or functional. We need them to slow down in order to do that. And there are other accommodations that we can advocate for, such as extra time or recopying their work, etc. I already mentioned that grip and posture are important. We look at posture all the time. And obviously in our initial eval, we're looking at underlying client factors and performance skills. We are looking at their sensory processing. We're looking at their fine motor skills. And we're looking at possibly their visual perceptual skills. The other thing that you want to look for is consistency over time and sessions. It's not okay just to have one session with good handwriting. It should be across settings, across contexts, and across sessions. Duh. Of course there's a role in fine motor skills and handwriting development. You're probably looking at me like, we're all OTs. Yeah, Randy, we know this. We learned this. Well, I just have to put it out there because I'm doing an overall presentation, and I want to make sure that you guys know that I think you guys are experts in fine motor skill development. And I think it's important to share with families that, no, we didn't do a handwriting eval on the initial assessment, but we did a bot, and the bot definitely illustrated their issues with fine motor integration, and these are affecting their writing. So some of the targets for intervention that we can do within our sessions, and honestly, this is why people come to OTs for handwriting. We don't just teach the skill of handwriting. They can get that from a teacher or a workbook. In fact, a large portion, if you think about it, of children never need to have OT intervention, and they still learn to write the letters. The ones that don't, they have an underlying client factor or performance skill deficit. So that's why they're coming to OT, for that holistic approach, because we can target some of the areas of fine motor that they're having trouble with, and we can do that in the gym, in our treatment rooms, with our games, with our activities. So if you think about it, some of the areas that we can target are pencil grip. I'm going to share with you the one area that I think works the best, and that is using golf pencils, broken chalk, or broken crayons. The only way they can hold it is between the tips of their index, their middle finger, and their thumb, if it's small. Pencil grips, to me, don't really work that well. A lot of times they get lost, or they end up at the bottom or the top of the pencil, and they're holding above it or below it. So I tend to like to train them to use the proper grasp, and using a writing implement that they have no choice but to use a tripod grasp, I find is the best way. Obviously, we can work on eye-hand coordination in many different ways. I'm not going to go through all of these with you because I know you guys have probably a ton of activities that can address each of these. I guess what I want you to be able to do is explain to a parent why you might be bouncing a racquetball from one hand to the other and across bounce to each other, and how that might relate to handwriting, because you're building their eye-hand coordination, which is needed because we need that visual motor integration to coordinate what they see with what they write. It's crucial for accurate letter placement. We need to make that link for parents. Sometimes we forget that they don't see things through an occupational therapy lens like we do. I'm going to talk a lot about letter formation, and I've got a lot of videos on this because that's the gist of what I wanted to do here. I really feel like the rest of this, you guys kind of have a control over. Like spatial awareness, we can work on that many ways in the gym, through different obstacle courses, through different worksheets and games and activities. Pressure control. Kids either exert too much pressure or too little pressure. If you're using too much pressure, you usually have a really dark stroke, or they're ripping the paper and their hand is going to get tired. So we're going to want to do things to work on their proprioceptive sense overall. And that leads to hand strength and endurance. If they have really low tone and weak hands, then there's all kinds of things that we can do in and out of the gym. We've got theraputty, we've got elastic bands, we've got yoga moves, we've got rock walls to climb, we've got scooter boards to propel. We can do wheelbarrow walks. I mean, you name it, you've got it at your disposal to address this. Pre-writing skills for our little guys. I just want you to know in the cabinets, we've got I believe we have Mat Man, and I know we have the sticks from Learning Without Tears, the big line, little line, big curve, little curve. This is also why we would work on some of the craft skills, the cutting skills, the use of beading and coloring and all of that. That's all pre-writing that sets the foundation for letter formation later. Let's not underestimate crossing the midline. It's very important that kids are able to cross midline. Think about writing the letter T. You wouldn't be able to write the letter T if you couldn't cross midline, and you wouldn't be able to make a letter X if you couldn't cross midline. Hand dominance. We also call that laterality. Laterality is actually not established until a child is like 6 or 7. But when you have an older child that's still switching hands, we don't want to choose a hand for them, but we want to look for clues to which hand they might be stronger with. One of the things you can do is throw a ball toward them. Whatever hand they naturally reach with is likely their dominant hand. When you roll a ball to a child, whatever they naturally kick with would probably be their dominant foot. All right, get a grip on handwriting. Okay, guys, get a grip, right? Let's get a grip. So the best grip for handwriting, obviously, is that dynamic tripod grasp. So we have a picture here of it for you. Basically, this is what we strive for, but it's not the end-all, be-all. If we can't get it, there are other grasps that are equally as efficient. So in an older child, let's not belabor the point. If they've been doing something for a long time and it's working for them, don't fix what's not broken. So these are just some tips for encouraging a good pencil grip, giving them proper tools, encouraging relaxation, fostering their independence, and observing and adjusting what they're doing. All right, letter formation. Improving letter formation is key to developing handwriting. Now, handwriting is really one of the most complex motor planning skills that we can do. So tap into your knowledge of motor planning. When you're working with them in the gym, it's important that you let parents know that it's not all sensory. Yeah, I think it's important that we let them know that there is a sensory aspect, that when you come to OT, we're holistic. We're looking at the actual act of handwriting, and we're looking at it from the sensory perspective, the motor perspective, the cognitive perspective, the visual perceptual perspective. And when we go in the gym, we're providing them sensory input to regulate their body, to enable them to sit and perform a complex task in a seated position at a desk. So giving them sensory input that will help modulate them, regulate their level of arousal is crucial. It's important. But when we're in the gym, we're also working on their motor planning. And we start with the gross movements, the bigger body movements, and work our way down to the smaller movements. So when you're in the gym, you still are working on letter formation. And I think it's important to let families know that not all that we do is sitting at a table with a pencil in hand. We do work on writing, and I'm doing air quotes again, without writing. So some strategies, and these are just an overview of strategies to address letter formation or enhance it. Start with some basic strokes. Do not start with the letter A. I'm going to get into that when I introduce handwriting without tears, or writing without, learning without tears is what they call it now. We don't start with the letter A because the letter A is one of the harder letters of the alphabet. I mean, uppercase A. Harder letters of the alphabet to produce. Lowercase is a different story. We actually do start with the magic C and then go to A. So I don't want to confuse you. And when you see a couple of the videos that I'm going to show you to introduce the program, you'll understand. Modeling and demonstration, though, is key. Providing a child with a workbook or worksheets without giving them the modeling and demonstration or guidance is the same mistake that teachers make. They constantly do that. They just give handouts and they expect the kids to learn how to do it. Tracing does not equal good handwriting. In fact, tracing is one of the least effective strategies to learning how to form letters. Dot to dots are a killer. Never, never, never do dot to dots. It's actually very much not a good evidence-based practice. What you want to do is use verbal cues and mnemonics. You want to teach them how to move their body to form the letter. Emphasize starting points. It's okay to put a dot on the paper where the letter starts and ends, but we don't want to dot all the way through. Air writing is a nice way for them to practice in the air before putting their hand or pencil to paper. I'm going to have you guys do a little bit of air writing in a moment. We're going to talk more about multisensory approaches, but I do want to highlight repetition and practice. Yes, handwriting is a complex motor skill. We're using motor learning theory when we're implementing a lot of these strategies, but we want to emphasize practicing perfect, not perfectly practicing. So here's the example. You give a child a letter to practice and their parents have them write the letter A 100 times on a piece of paper for 20 to 30 minutes. By the time they get to the 10th letter A, they're actually practicing the wrong formation. They're practicing an illegible letter and their hand is fatiguing. So what you've done is you've reinforced the wrong motor plan. We don't want them to practice a letter 50 times, 5 times, 3 times, doing it the right way, doing it perfectly, and then put it away. Okay? And so it's more important to do it multiple times throughout the week than just, let's get this over with and sit down for 30 minutes today and do 100 A's. That is not effective. That's not evidence-based. You want to practice perfection, not perfectly practice. Provide feedback. So when they do 5 letters, circle the best one, give them a star, really boost their confidence, highlight their benefits, and use a lot of visual aids. So I want to introduce Learning Without Tears, formerly known as Handwriting Without Tears. It is a developmental approach. It's multisensory and it's based on principles of motor learning. It's developmentally based because we begin with letters that are developmentally easier to write. So when you start print, you usually start with the uppercase alphabet, and you're going to start with the letter E because it's vertical lines and horizontal lines. No surprise, those are the first strokes that a child is able to write. Think back to the Peabody, developmental motor scales, vertical, horizontal. The letter A, which people often start with, is 2 slanted lines. Slanted lines are one of the harder things to write, even if you look at the BRE VMI. So what Handwriting Without Tears says is we don't just go A to Z when we're teaching the alphabet. It's a very systematic approach to clustering letters together that are formed in a similar manner. And that's fundamental to motor learning and motor memory. Because when you're teaching them like the magic C, and I have a video on that, the magic C is the basis for 4 letters. They all start with magic C. So I want everybody to get your finger in the air, all right? I want you to start your letter at the top and make a C. Everybody do it, all right? C. All right, let's turn that C into an A using a verbal mnemonic. So we go magic C, let's helicopter up and bump the line, come back down. Magic C to A. All right, let's do a D. We're going to start again with a magic C. We're going to go up to the line, but we need to helicopter up higher to the clouds in the sky. And now come back down. So we have D. All right. Now magic C to G. We're going to make that magic C, and we're going to go down and go fishing and around. And we have the letter G. I hope you were following me with your fingers in the air. And basically, you'll see a video on the magic C in a second. All right. I have a video here I want to show you. It is 9 minutes. It's an introduction to the entire program. She kind of goes through the workbooks. So take a look, watch it, and I'll be back with you in a sec.
This is seriously the most expensive thing that I've purchased like all year. Hi guys, my name's Autumn and this is the Burton family. In today's video, we are going to be doing a handwriting without tears. In today's video, we're going to be doing a handwriting without tears haul. Because yes, it is a haul because there's that much manipulative stuff and it was not cheap. So it's worthy of a dadgum video. Praise the Lord. Let's get on to the video. Okay, so I need to like turn the camera down because there's like stuff everywhere right now. Yeah, so I'm just gonna start moving it from this stack to this stack and showing you everything that I got from Handwriting Without Tears. Guys, we've been using this for 2 weeks now and I absolutely love it. But if you have an aversion to chalk, you're gonna have to grin and bear it because it's really good, but I really hate chalk. Yeah. So I got the teacher's guide. I know sometimes people don't, but I'm really glad that I did simply because of the number stories. These number stories right here were absolutely worth buying the teacher's guide, and I'm glad to have it. I know sometimes people don't buy teacher's guides for handwriting curriculums, but I did, and I absolutely don't regret it. We got 2 of the kindergarten books because I have a kindergartner finishing kindergarten and a kindergartner starting kindergarten. And so, yeah, we just started at the kindergarten book and then we'll move on from there. And here's a little peek inside. It looks a little something like this. We also picked up the preschool book for our 2 soon-to-be 3-year-old because she needs something to do. She needs school just like her sisters. And so just to appease her precious, beautiful heart, she gets the preschool book. And I'm really glad we ordered this. We pretty much treat it like it's a coloring book. We use it as a way to have educational moments with her every day when her sisters are doing school. But she mostly just scribbles in it, and I'm okay with that. Let me give you guys like a side-by-side comparison of what the kindergarten book looks like to the preschool book as compared to the preschool book. So this is the letter P in the kindergarten book. If the camera will focus on that. I don't know if it will, maybe too bright. And this is the letter P in the preschool book. And I'm not even sure. I think in this book, you can either use a crayon. I think you can either use a crayon to trace it or just use your finger. And so my 2-year-old, soon to be 3-year-old, kind of just does a bit of both. And so far we're really liking it. The preschool book only does capital letters. So once her sisters move into lowercase letters, she will have to move on to, she'll have to use something else, or she'll probably just reopen the same page and scribble on it again. I don't know. So we have 4 of the slate boards, and basically this is how I demonstrate the letters to them, and then they copy what I do. We also bought the little chalk bits that go with the slate boards and the sponges because they have a wet dry technique that's really cute, and my kids love writing the letters with a wet sponge. That's like their favorite part. They fight over who's going to wet the sponges that day. Something that I really like about the Handwriting Without Tears curriculum and that is that it is very like tactile, kinesthetic oriented. And so before we do anything, we always build the letter first. And so I have the blocks or wood pieces right here. So almost all the letters can be made with these 3 pieces right here. So I can make a P, a D, a B, a C, an O, all from these pieces. And one of the major concepts with Handwriting Without Tears is that everything has to fit inside of a rectangle. So we build the letter on this rectangle, and then we write it on this rectangle, and then they write them in these rectangles. So it's very consistent in how it teaches the letters in different mediums and textures, but it's all within kind of the same shape, if that makes sense. So we have 4 of the little foam mats for the wood pieces to go on. This is just like copy paper for them to do like copy work. I only have 1 of these notebooks. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to order more of these. We've got this CD, which my kids have already listened to multiple times. The Matman hands, which I'm not even sure if I'm gonna use because I did not order the preschool teacher's manual. So I don't really know if I'm gonna use this or not. The double line chalkboard, which I believe is for teaching lowercase letters. We are not that far yet. So these right here are really for my preschooler, and I ordered them kind of on a whim. I was like, okay, I'll throw those in there too. And I wasn't sure like how I was going to use them. I thought they were just for demonstrating the wood pieces because the wood pieces do fit on this guide. So my preschooler will build the wood pieces on the guide, build the letter with the wood pieces, and then flip it over to the other side. And it's almost kind of like a worksheet for her. So I'll say, okay, this is the letter A. Which one of these is the letter A? And then she'll either point at it or circle it with a dry erase marker. And then, you know, same thing, you're just matching which one of these is capital A, which one is lowercase, basically kind of like that. And so I've been doing one of these with her every day, just 1 sheet, and she looks forward to it and she really likes it. And when her sisters do their reading lesson, this is what she considers to be her reading lesson. So like today, she got so jealous and she was like, I want my reading lesson. I was like, you don't have a reading lesson. And she was like, yes, I do. So I guess she has a reading lesson now. Okay, so these next 2 things I also bought for my preschooler, but her sisters who are 4 and 5 love it too. So this is the Stampin' C screen, and basically, what are these things called? It's not like an Etch-a-Sketch. I don't know what it's called, but basically you can write on it with the magnet, or you can use it to stamp letters, just like the blue pad and the chalkboard. It's the same concept. You build the letter here, build the letter here, and build the letter here. You get it. And lastly, the Roll-A-Dough kit. My kids have been loving this thing. Let me show it to you. So we've got our weird gluten-free dough, and then these cards. Hey, does this look like a familiar shape to you? It's literally just another medium to do the exact same thing. So you get one of these cards. So for example, this is the letter, the number 5. And you put it in the tray. Where do our letters start? They start at the top with the little smiley face. Put it in there, and then you get your dough and roll it into a little snake, and then build the number 5, or the letter P, or the letter O, whatever. And my kids have been loving doing this. So yeah, I really love just the sheer repetition, if I haven't showed you already, of the way that they teach handwriting is so interesting. I like it. So that is everything I think that I got from Handwriting Without Tears. If you have any questions about the curriculum, please leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them for you. I do post pictures on my Instagram of my kids using this curriculum from time to time. I will leave a link to that in the description box below so you can go check that out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos from us, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye!
If you like what you see, subscribe. It's free.
So in this next video, you're going to learn about double lines.
Hello, I'm Double Lines. Do you know that letters can be unruly, reckless creatures for new writers to control? Watch these guys battle over whose alpha letter, and you'll see how I help children keep them in order.
I'm the biggest, I'm the tallest, the best, numero uno.
You're not the tallest. I'm just as tall. Plus, I'm simple, classy, and elegant.
Psh, yeah, right. You can't get down like me. None of you go below the line.
Ha ha ha, give me a break. I'm tall and I've got my hump. Hey!
Well, guess what? I'm cute and I'm awesome. I'm the only one here who gets to be small. Almost.
Now imagine how confusing it is for new writers to fit letters together when they're given all sorts of lined paper at school. 1 line, 3 lines, too many lines, dotted lines, no lines. I can help you write your letters correctly. My rules are simple. This is my baseline, this is my midline. The baseline guides placement, and the midline controls the size of letters. This is my top space, this is my middle space, this is my bottom space. Small letters fit in the middle space, tall letters go in the top space, descending letters go in the bottom space. Whoa. You guys are nothing if we can't read you. Let's all try to work together. Let me help get you into position. Baseline guides placement. Okay, line up. Midline controls the size of letters. Small letters fit in the middle space. Tall letters go in the top space. Descending letters go in the bottom space. Perfect. You're set for success. Double lines help you learn how letters fit together. You'll make them the right size and put them in the right place. You'll be able to keep your letters in order no matter what type of lined paper you have.
So I want to talk to you about a multisensory approach, wet, dry, try. This is kind of the hallmark of learning without tears. What it involves is using a chalkboard, and you model and demonstrate using your mnemonics how to form the letter. Then they dip a little sponge in a petri dish of water, and they trace and erase it using wet. Then they get a piece of paper towel and crumple it between their fingers, which is a fine motor activity, and they dry it. Then they try it. Hence, wet, dry, try. You can do modified versions of this using the magnetic board that we have that's with Learning Without Tears, or doing it on the wall on a vertical surface. But here's a video that kind of demonstrates it as well.
Today, we're going to be doing Wet, Dry, Try from Handwriting Without Tears. Let's take a minute to see what we're going to need. First, we're going to need our Wet, Dry, Try board. We're also going to need a piece of chalk, 2 small sponges, and a little cup of water. If you don't have a little cup of water, that's okay. You can just get one of your sponges wet in the sink before we begin. Okay, take a minute to get everything that you need, and then we're going to get started. Today, we're going to learn how to write capital letter B. Before we get started, ask a grown-up to write a big letter B for you to trace, just like I did on my board. Are you ready to get started? Why don't you watch me do it first, and then we'll try it together. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, here I go. I'm going to start with my wet sponge, and I'm going to dip it in my water and give it a big squeeze so I don't make a mess. Now, capital letter B starts at the smiley face. So I'm going to put my wet sponge all the way at the top next to the smiley face. Big line down, frog jump up. right back to that smiley face. Little curve, bump. Little curve, bump. Did you notice that I made sure to bump my big line 2 times when I was writing that letter B? I'm gonna try that again with my dry sponge. Here I go. I started the smiley face. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Amazing! Okay, I'm gonna try it with my chalk now. Here I go. I started the smiley face. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. How'd I do? I think it looks pretty good. Let's try it together this time. The first thing we're going to need is our wet sponge. So pick one of your sponges to get wet and dunk it in the water. Make sure you give it a big squeeze so it doesn't make a mess. Okay, here we go. Touch your wet sponge to the smiley face. Are we ready? Here we go. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Amazing! Let's try it with our dry sponge. Touch your sponge to the smiley face. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. And now let's try it with our chalk. Touch your chalk to the smiley face. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Amazing. Let's do it again. Get your wet sponge wet again and give it a good squeeze. Touch your sponge to the smiley corner. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Time for our dry sponge. Touch your sponge to the smiley corner. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. And now we'll try it with our chalk. Touch your chalk to the smiley corner. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Let's do it one more time. Dip your wet sponge in the water and give it a squeeze. Here we go. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Okay, let's try it with our dry sponge. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Time for our last try with our chalk. Here we go. Big line down, frog jump up, little curve, bump, little curve, bump. Wow, it looks amazing. You did such a good job learning how to write capital letter B. See you next time.
Magic C letters. lowercase c. Ta-da! Magic C!
Hey guys, Dana here with the OT Guide. This video is super quick and it goes over my favorite strategy to improve writing legibility with an emphasis on letter sizing. Let's jump into it. So what we know is the number one thing that impacts writing legibility is letter sizing. And when I say letter sizing, I mean specifically the sizing of our lowercase letters. So lowercase letters like L, T, or H would be considered tall letters because they touch the top of the top line on that tri-lined paper. Short letters are considered short because they sit under the middle dotted line, and hanging letters are hanging because they also sit under that dotted line, but in addition to that, they have a tail that goes below the baseline. So step one, let's say you notice your child's writing looks like hieroglyphics. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to teach them about letter sizing. You're going to introduce them to this concept of tall, short, and hanging letters. So you're going to go through the alphabet, the lowercase alphabet, point to each one, and have your child identify if the letter is tall, short, or hanging. Just teaching them about this concept, bringing awareness to the fact that lowercase letters have to have different sizes can make a huge difference in your child's writing almost immediately. But let's say you have a child that's just not understanding it. You show them a picture of letters on that tri-line paper and they can't identify if the letter is tall, short, or hanging. Maybe they're just brand new to the concept, or they might have intellectual deficits. For these particular students, what I have found to be most helpful is giving them little visuals in the form of boxes. So you'll make short boxes, hanging boxes, and tall boxes. Giving them this visual has been a game changer for me in my OT practice. Let's say we give our student an assignment to copy the word cat. What we would do is we would give 3 boxes, 2 short boxes for C and A and 1 tall box for T, and we would have our students write the letters in each of the corresponding boxes. After we do that for many different trials, we can then have our students draw the boxes. I have found that so many of my students with this activity are like, let me draw it. And what this does is it brings them more of an awareness that each of my letters needs to be a different size because each of the boxes need to be a different size. After we practice using the boxes, they make the boxes themselves, then you can gradually fade them away. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you all. If it was, feel free to like and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm and it supports my channel. And I hope to see you all here next time. Bye.
Multisensory approaches engage various senses simultaneously to help writing. So, I say multisensory is our specialty. We can do all kinds of stuff at our sensory gym. And I just gave a few ideas here to show you that you can do writing without writing. So it doesn't have to be paper and pencil worksheets. Sandpaper letters, play or clay modeling on letters, salt trays, doing air writing with kinesthetic movements, texture boards, scented markers, we have them. They're motivating. Gross motor activities, we've already talked about some of those. Yoga for handwriting, water writing, and magnetic letters, just to name a few. And that's why I come to the point where I need to say fun, 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 fun. We need to have that fun factor. We need to encourage writing in different ways. When I had little kids, I used to work with them and playing restaurant, and they would take my orders. Or you might want to create an obstacle course using whiteboards around the room, and at each station they have to practice a letter. Or use the big alphabet letters under our dome, where you can place them and they have to go find the letter and then write it. Seasonal crossword puzzles are great. That fun fix with letters writing in boxes, it helps with sizing and spacing. Doing riddles and Mad Libs for practice. Games like Upwards and Scrabble, and the one that I can't remember where you've Zap It, I think it's called, or something. They're wonderful games for practicing writing words once they've mastered the letters. Technology integration. We do have a couple apps on our iPad. Handwriting Without Tears app, better for the older kids. It's kind of like a wet, dry try using a stylus on the iPad. And then Letter School, which is definitely good for all the little kids. And I also want to leave you with consider cursive. It eliminates reversals, helps with the flow of writing, and can help with fixing spacing. And it might be motivating for that child that's been struggling with printing since he was 5 years old. Now he's 9, and it's time to try something different. I've had a lot of success moving people from print to cursive, and actually serendipitously found that their printing actually improved as well. Parental involvement can't be underplayed. Carryover is important, but let's go back and circle back to practice. 20 minutes a day is not recommended. Writing a sheet of the same letter leads to practicing illegible letters. Practice should be short, sweet, 5 minutes per day max. So as noted before, practice perfection, don't perfectly practice.